Without a doubt, we are seeing the best case scenario unfold right now for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has fallen below $71,000 and we are now sitting at 70.5, which also means that after a very successful attempt at breaking our previous all-time high, and the reason I'm saying it's very successful is that we got up here in the first place and we didn't initially get a massive rejection like last time. In fact, let's actually take a look at that before we continue on, because this is such an important part of this price action, which I guarantee you probably haven't thought of so far. But if we measure this really quick, just from, we're on the 4-hour time frame here, just within the first 16 hours, 20 hours of Bitcoin hitting that all-time high, it managed to drop by 5.6%, okay? And if we measure this, no, I didn't measure that properly, actually. It was 7%. It wasn't 5.6. It was 7% that it dropped down. And it took only slightly longer, one full day, for Bitcoin to drop by 11%. If we actually bring this into context now and take a look at what's happened since we hit the all-time high just 2 days ago, since then, we've dropped by a total of 4.7%. So clearly, we're not seeing anything close to the same level of dump as last time. We're not moving as quickly, and we're not moving as intensely. And those are two really big details, which, like I said at the beginning, I guarantee you probably haven't even thought of yet. And it really provides a lot of clarity about what's going on with Bitcoin. You're probably already starting to draw those conclusions in your head, which is fantastic. But while you're doing that, do me a favor and smash the likes up on this YouTube channel. We're trying to grow the channel a little bit here. And if you haven't already, definitely make sure that you have subscribed and you've got the bell icon checked. You've got huge bonuses available with the links in the description below on the platforms that I trade on. I've been making ridiculous profits in this market recently, and I want you guys to be able to get the free cash here if you're allowed to. So check it out. Only if you're not in a restricted region. This free cash is money that you can use to trade with, and any profits that you generate are going to be yours to withdraw. So super, super cool stuff. But if we bring it back to the market here for a second, we've seen a really nice pullback. There's a weird sounds like, what is that? It's the AC. We've seen a really nice pullback here coming off the all-time high, and most importantly, we've seen it come slowly, right? We haven't seen it being the same level of intense rejection that we saw last time. And these are really important kind of early warning signs about what this market has in store for us, because if the market was actually in a weak position right now, then we would have seen a more aggressive sell-off. But the absence of an aggressive sell-off, in other words, not having a big sell-off, usually means that the market is still bullish. It just means that we're doing the normal corrective price action, which is healthy. And to me, that makes me so damn bullish. So bullish for higher price targets, well above 70K, well above 74K, 75, 80K, and so on. Honestly, I think that by the end of November, we could easily be above 80K. I think we could easily be above 90K. I think we could quite likely even be above 100K within the month of November, which starts tomorrow, by the way. So smash up the likes for that if you're excited for that. I don't know, right? It could go south. It could go the other way. I'm going to talk about that because the thing is that now that we have lost this little sideways range, that does mean that we've lost one of the best zones of support in this market, but it's also the shallowest support that we have, right? We've only got two real strong levels of support, in my opinion, on this chart. There are a lot of levels that you can look at, and we've been talking about what those levels are, but the two main levels are obviously just going to be this sideways price range here at about 71 to 72, and then the next sideways price range here at about 67 to 68. And the reason that this is such an important price level is if we go ahead and kind of look at this with the volume profile, any of you who haven't kind of been watching these videos, you're going to need to know this. This red line represents the point of control on the chart, which is basically where most of the Bitcoin trading and exchange has happened. Basically, this is a very memorable level on the chart. This is where a lot of shit has happened for Bitcoin, basically. That's where the red line is. And the red line is built by this histogram here, which really spikes outwards. So the fact that this is really spiking up here is what's creating that red line. And so I've gone ahead and drawn a box around it because that, this is very complicated to look at, but, this is a lot less intimidating. But as we can see, this yellow box is kind of where most of the volumes happen for Bitcoin. And that's going to be our next key area of support for this market. And I think now that Bitcoin has kind of lost this zone of support, the chance that we come down here has gotten very high. It's probably above 50% at this point. So we're going to have to see how this goes. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think this is Bitcoin's best case scenario, and that's why I said what I said right at the beginning. If you want to rewind the video, you can go ahead and re-listen to what I said at the beginning of the video. But I'm not worried about this at all. I think this is absolutely great news, the fact that Bitcoin has this support here and we could be coming down, because it gives the bears a chance to drive this market back down. It gives the bears a chance to actually build a case and say, you know, Bitcoin hit the all-time high, but it's not strong enough to break out. And so, you know, it's not time, and actually we need to pack our bags, go home, and it's going to be another 2-year bear market, right? That's what the bears want to say, right? That's the ultimate bear porn dream. And what you and I are interested in is giving those bears that chance, because what we need to really understand as traders, right? I mean, if you're a shit muncher that's still fucking all in on meme coins, then good luck to you. But, you know, if you're a reasonable, responsible investor or trader in the markets like you and I are, then actually you're probably going to be very understanding of pullbacks like this. You're probably going to welcome pullbacks like this, because you're going to understand that if the bears have that chance to drive the price lower and they fail, there is no bigger vote of confidence that you can give to the bulls, right? There's nothing better that you can do for somebody who's bullish than proving that you can't drop the price. If you can't take the price lower, that's going to make bullish people much more bullish. And not only is it going to do that, it's also going to print new higher low possibilities. The last kind of real macro, and it is macro now, I can confidently say that, you know, the last kind of real macro higher low, at least within this setting that we set, was probably going to be about here at about 58k. Since then, we did set a low up here at about 65, but I think we can do better. I think we can get a more profile drop down. We got to look at the kind of drops that have come in this market, right? Again, people just lose perspective so much and so quickly, but I won't do that, and you won't do that if you're watching me. You know, and if we take a look at what some of this corrective price action has looked like, you know, it's not as quick and short as this. I mean, you know, we can just compare this. We can literally just go ahead and, you know, just grab all of these and we can move around on the chart. And you're going to see very, very quickly that, you know, the kind of corrections that we've had previously are much more substantial than this correction here, you know. And if we zoom in, we can really start to kind of appreciate what we're actually looking at here. Because I think it's so important to look at this, you know, realistically. And there's no other way to look at this other than kind of what we're doing right now on this chart. So I think that's why this is so powerful here. I just need to, the chart's not cooperating with me, so I need to bring these things over here. You know, and I want to really, really draw your attention to this different, you know, these different examples of corrective price action, because we need it, and we might be in the beginning of initiating a new one right now. So this is what we've already had, and, you know, just in terms of raw moves, you know, this is a pretty shallow correction. It only moves by 7%. Now, the first big one that we had was over here. This is 18%, 19%, and then the second big one is going to be right here, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I got them the wrong way around, but it doesn't really matter. And we're seeing substantially larger corrections here. This one's going to be about 11%, but it also takes longer. So naturally, if you're going to be punching in all-time highs and really trending up in quite impressive ways, you're gonna first of all, you're gonna get there through corrective price action, because you need that kind of price action to allow the market to go up. But second of all, you're going to be able to continue it and basically refuel your jetpacks when you get this type of corrective price action. So this clearly wasn't enough. But if we come back to what the market's doing right now, we have a real opportunity to drag this out a little bit and come down to support. Now, I'm not expecting corrective price action to look like this, because if you remember what I said yesterday, and it was such an important video, those of you that are subscribed, you're going to be so familiar with the things I was talking about. I said that now that we're starting to kind of enter all-time high territory, I believe we're going to get shallower, quicker corrections. So I'm not expecting corrections like this, but I'm still definitely welcoming something that looks like this, or even bigger than this, as long as it's not substantial, right? This is not a substantial correction. So it can be kind of in the region of what we saw previously. It can be plus minus a little bit. It doesn't matter. But I'm not expecting these pullbacks to be slow, and I'm not expecting them to be super deep, which is, again, why I opened this video with such confidence and joy about what this market's been doing, because the fact that we've lost this zone of support at 71 now means that our next best zone is right here at 67, And my God, is this a good support level? If we take a look at this with the Ichimoku cloud, we've got a ton of support right there right now. If this drop accelerates today, we've got support here, and it stretches all the way until the 5th of November, which, by the way, is in about a week from now. It's right after the election, or maybe it is the election day in the US. I'm not entirely sure, but there's that going for Bitcoin. On the daily time frame, our support is catching up. So if this turns out to be a slow corrective price action, which I don't think it will be, but if it does turn out to be, then we've got a ton of support that's going to be building there beginning of December, which is absolutely great. And if we take a look at this on the same daily time frame, but with our EMA ribbon, we have a shit ton of support at this price level now. I mean, this is huge. And the last time Bitcoin used this cloud as support, this EMA ribbon as support, mainly probably over here, we saw a big price jump for Bitcoin twice. It initiated 2 really big price moves for Bitcoin here. So I think quite a substantial zone of support continuing to develop in this range here. And it's also backed up with being the horizontal point of control and just a key price level that we've been aware of on this chart for many, many months now, going back even before 2024. This is historically a very, very important price level, and I don't believe that that's going to be changing anytime soon. So really good stuff here, I think, as far as support goes. Now, if we take a look at what this looks like from other perspectives, Bitcoin's dominance continues to rise up as well. No surprises here, ladies and gents. You've heard me so vocal about this, and I've continued to tell you that I think it's going to keep rising up. While you've got people talking about how alt season is about to start and they're all in on altcoins, which, by the way, is probably a good chunk of people watching right now. I don't know what the hell to say to you guys. We've been talking about this for years on this channel, how holding alts is a bad idea. I know that holding alts will end up paying better than Bitcoin, usually, but it depends on which alts you're holding and, most importantly, when you're holding them. And it's such an important, nuanced conversation, yet most people don't put that effort in at all, and they just get completely swept away, losing all of their money, while you watch people like me making 2,000 plus, 1,000 plus % profits in multiple trades in the same market that you're losing money in. It's like, what the fuck's going on? It's actually very straightforward. You're losing your money for the same simple reasons as everybody else. And I am making a multi-part video series on this, which you're going to see right here on YouTube for free. All you've got to do is make sure that you are subscribed to this YouTube channel and that you've checked the bell icon after you've done that. Obviously, you've got huge bonuses here, so while you're down there, now is the time. Pause the video, get your bonuses if you're not in a restricted region. All you've got to do is start trading using these links, and it's going to give you free money that you can throw back into the market, and any profits you generate are going to be yours to withdraw. Super, super cool. Blowfin's going to be one of the best in the space here, standing as a great alternative to Bybit as well. So just make sure that you're allowed to with your country, but really, really cool offer here. And that multi-part series on altcoins is going to be coming out for those of you that are subscribed. I'm actually probably going to be recording all of that tonight, and that's going to be coming out very, very soon. And we're going to be talking about what makes an altcoin recover, when it's going to happen, and what's going to happen for various different altcoins. I've literally got 5 videos I'm going to be filming for you right now tonight. So definitely make sure you'll subscribe for that, and tell me in the comment section that you're looking forward to it if you are, because I'm super, super excited for that content. And this is going to be something that really sets a lot of people apart in their trading. We're still having the same damn issue. We might be toward the end of it for Bitcoin's dominance trend right now, right? I mean, it might be coming to the end now. It's already hit my target. So if it stops moving up here, I was still 100% correct. And I'm very happy about that, because I was able to, it doesn't matter if I'm correct on a psychological or pride level, but what matters a lot more is if I'm making money off it, or more importantly, not losing money. And I can tell you right now, I certainly lost very, very, very little, because I've been completely positioned in Bitcoin for years, which means that I saw this coming and I was able to protect my holdings. And the reason that this is such a big deal is because I believe altcoins will pop soon-ish. I mean, I think it could take many, many months. I think it could take more than 6 months, but I think it's going to happen. And I think that when it does happen, the gains in those altcoins are going to make my current Bitcoin gains look like a children's sandpit. I really believe that. I really believe that that's what it's going to be. I believe that those altcoin gains are just going to be astronomical compared to the kind of money that I'm making right now. But I mustn't work against myself until that point comes, right? I shouldn't be working against myself. I shouldn't be losing my money, because then I have less firepower when the time is right. That's the problem that most people find themselves in as a trader. And you guys have been talking about this in the comment section. I read all of your comments. I see what you guys are talking about, and this is the real value that you get on this channel compared to another one, because unlike other YouTube channels, I'm not just a marketer where my entire life is paid for just by marketing things. I actually trade like you. And so I have the same real problems that you encounter. And so we could talk about things completely realistically and understand each other compared to somebody else that's getting paid $50,000 to promote a shitcoin. That's not what this channel is. And so what you get over here is that very, very realistic, sobering reality check. Somebody giving you this reminder right now that you've got to write down if you like taking notes, which is that if you're fucking around and if you're being irresponsible and if you're throwing your money left, right, and center in places where it shouldn't be, when the time comes and you've actually got quite a spectacular opportunity to make money, you're going to have two really big problems. Number one, you're going to be too scared. You're going to be too psychologically scarred to even take the trade, because you're rightfully going to have no confidence in yourself because you've been losing your money and doing nothing useful for the last 1 or 2 years. But the second problem that you're going to have, which you can't do anything about, these psychological issues, these are overnight fixes. You can speak to somebody. We've got amazing one-to-one. We've got an amazing one-to-one program. You guys can reach out to me using the direct contact link on my Telegram to get information on that. We've seen incredible results out of that. You can do stuff like that. You can read books. You can journal. There's things you can do, and it's largely, when you decide you want to change your mindset, done, and you're a new person. So these are overnight fixes. But the things that are not overnight fixes are the second problem, which is that you're going to have a lack of capital. Right? You've spent so much time losing your money, you've spent so much time not growing it or just not keeping it where it could or should be, that now when you could be having, 100, theoretical bullets to fire into the market, you only have 20. And, you better make those 20 shots count, and you can still pull off something quite amazing with it. But it's very painful to know that you could have started with a much better footing and you just didn't because of silly mistakes that could have been avoided. This is the thing, man. Trading, people don't get this. Trading has real life consequences. If you fuck up, it's not like you get punched. If you fuck up, it's not like, you just have a fight with your girl or, there's some other bullshit going on. You got a fucking speeding ticket or anything. It's not like that as a trader. Like, as a trader, if you fuck up, you're actively losing your future. Like, it's the most direct, most painful, most intense punishment that you experience if you if you lose money as a trader. There are going to be things that are comparable or worse. Maybe if you're a boxer and you fuck up, the consequences are actually much more dire. But I don't know. I think it's all debatable, right? I mean, it depends on how much money you lose as a trader and then how much that affects your family or whatever, right? So pretty serious consequences here, needless to say. And with all of that in mind, I think it makes sense to take it very seriously. And, making silly mistakes really just isn't appropriate in this game. And again, that's why that multi-part series is coming. So big detour from the video, but I think that's what makes these videos great. So if you do appreciate that, tell me that in the comment section as well. Let's continue on, though. Let's continue talking here. I do believe that Bitcoin's dominance has a strong chance of continuing to rise. It's showing absolutely no signs of slowing down. And this is happening while Bitcoin is dropping, right? So this is more proof that while Bitcoin goes up, we see Bitcoin's dominance rise. But on the other hand, while we see Bitcoin go down, we still see Bitcoin's dominance rise, which is a really, really tough, dangerous position to be in if you are an altcoin holder, because it continues to show that there is no relief in sight. Ethereum against Bitcoin continuing to suffer those consequences here because we are continuing to drop down quite aggressively here with absolutely no sign of capturing support. So still quite a long way to go to my support level at 0.3 BTC per token. I haven't moved these lines for a long time, but I do want to start kind of, to be honest, I think this red line just doesn't need to be here. This entire range, I think, is just very possible to be support for Bitcoin. I could tighten the range, bring it down a little bit, because I honestly think it could go lower, but I'm not too worried about that just at the moment. And then as for some of the other altcoins, obviously, we're continuing to see some pretty decent strength here on Solana. It is ripping through a couple of its support levels in ways that I don't quite like, but, I'm not going to give it too much hassle for that. It's moving up quite well. It should correct the way it needs to. I'm happy to give it a little bit of space for that. That's completely okay. And then if we take a look at traditional finance, which is obviously going to be the focal point of any analysis in these markets, we have now, of course, the main reason I think for why any of this has happened, which is that the S&P 500 not only gapped down quite aggressively, but continued to trade down today on this Thursday trading session, which is about to come to an end just within the next hour. So probably by the time you're watching this video, the S&P 500 trading session will be over for today. So there's only one more, which is going to be on Friday tomorrow. And it is looking a little bit more bearish. So we got a really nice big support level here at 5,600. If the S&P is searching for support, then this is going to be its best bet. If the S&P 500 can fall down to there, that'll be a total correction of about 4.5%, which is, I would say, shallow. I don't know. This is probably a shallow correction for the S&P 500. I guess you could call this moderate. Or to be honest, I would call this moderate. That's a 10%. So yeah, this is still shallow territory, and I would just say that this is very shallow. So I think if the S&P comes down here, that's going to be, still a shallow pullback. And the reason that I'm kind of coloring things in with these keywords is because I still think that the S&P 500 is overdue for a much more serious correction. I think it's been overdue for a much more serious correction since April of this year, because that's when we initiated this correction here, but it didn't quite come back down to the previous all-time high. So this would have been quite a healthy correction. It would have been quite nice in size as well. Actually, not that great. It would have only been about 10%, so not huge, but it would have been quite nice. I think that, that back test would have been great. The S&P doesn't necessarily always give you that, so that's okay, and that's why I think that this green box could be good. And again, as far as Bitcoin goes, if the S&P falls down here, that's probably going to be a $67,000 Bitcoin. So I think it works out really, really well. I don't see the S&P dropping further than that. And I think if it does drop further than that, there are still some really nice support levels. And I wouldn't be calling for doomsday or anything concerning at all. But I would say that this is probably going to be, one of the next really good support levels. There's probably another one, floating right about over here. These are, more general levels. We're not as exact, or we're not looking for as much precision as we would perhaps with Bitcoin, but, generally kind of looking at these price zones here for the S&P 500. So we'll see, I think that in either case, the S&P is totally fine. And let's just take a look at the dollar and see how the dollar has been dealing with all of this. And yeah, the dollar has been dipping a little bit, but nothing really, really interesting happening here. So we're still waiting for a big move on the dollar, whether it continues up or drops down quite aggressively. We're clearly at a pivot point right now. I think it's no coincidence whatsoever the fact that the dollar just randomly, seemingly, stopped trending up exactly in my green box. I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. It was trending up very, very, very aggressively, and it immediately stopped and started finding support and resistance within my green box. No surprise there whatsoever. You've been watching this channel for a long time. You can see just how beautifully all of this technical analysis works, even on things like the dollar. And by the way, speaking of the dollar, here is the pound against the dollar, and it has dropped quite aggressively over here. It's down by 4% in the last 36 days, and it looks like this recent acceleration in the pound's downtrend is going to be due to 𝐂𝐥𝐨𝐅𝐢𝐧. He's got quite a brilliant name there. It's because of Keir Starmer and his quite spectacular tax legislation that he's announced. So obviously socialists are going to socialize, and socialists are going to socialist. You can't change him. If once a socialist, always a socialist in that sense. And so he's not doing anything surprising at all. But it seems to be having a negative effect on the pound. So yeah, no surprises there. I do want to take this opportunity while I'm on video, and I still have some of you paying attention because we're at the end of the video. I do want to take this opportunity to say that when Liz Truss was elected, what they did to the pound and all the other markets in the UK was disgusting, and it was clearly manipulation right from the very fucking top. to prevent very, very good policy from being enacted in the UK. I think the UK would be in a completely different place by now, if Liz Truss was given a chance, but she wasn't given a chance. Everybody and their grandmother tried to engineer a very, very nasty economy for Liz, acting like this is the response to her legislation. It wasn't. It was just manipulated. It was just completely engineered from top to bottom to make the economy look shit for about 5 days to drive her out of office. It was basically a financial coup in a lot of ways, the way that they attacked her through the system. And yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to watch the machine wake up, especially in your own country. Brits will understand, hopefully. I think the perspective of most people is very one-dimensional. It's just, yeah, but my mortgage rates went up, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a bit more complicated than that, but yeah, that is going to be one unfortunate effect of good legislation. And I think what most people don't realize is that the key problems you have are because when things are cheap in your life, be it a mortgage or a car lease or whatever, even healthcare, when they're cheap, because they're not always cheap. A lot of the time they're not cheap. But when they are, it's probably not because the market is good. It's probably more likely because something is being subsidized by the government. So I mean, it's like saying that you had a lollipop you're not supposed to eat, and now it's been taken away from you, and the guy who took it away from you is a bad person. Like, not really that simple. Not to say that you shouldn't have the lollipop either. It's a very complicated discussion. But I think it's important to know where your comforts are coming from in the world, especially while everybody is concerned about government spending. Most of your comforts typically are coming from subsidies, and subsidies are not sustainable. They're that's just government spending. Yeah, even like these child tax credits that are, like, this is just money that was yours and now they're letting you keep it. Like, they're not giving you more shit. So it's just important to see things for what they are. I don't like it when rights can get taken away or nice things can be removed, but then when it's given back to you, people start taking credit for giving it back to you. It's like, no, motherfucker, you shouldn't have taken it in the first place. You don't get points for returning it. These are important, different perspective shifts, which I don't know. I mean, if I didn't say it while I have this channel, I would probably feel like I'm not doing my part. So there you go, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do. If you have, hit up the like, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. If you want the multi-part series on those altcoins, definitely check that out. And I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.